Camera now. of our camera. Is that right? Us live, or you can, but we can't talk to the race. Josh, it's there.
We're on. Yeah, we sure are. It's very, very, very good to be here tonight. Kate, we are at QT Gardens Point, the Cube, at state of the art facility. Basically, a two-story high screen featuring Australia's Esports Open National Championships. We're back here again from last year. My name's Joel Spreadborough. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. This year we're here live in the flesh and the action will be unfolding behind us all night. I'd like to say a very, very good evening to someone who would love to be on the bike right now, Catherine Bates.
Joel, what an amazing evening it is here. We've got the women's racing is underway, so let's jump into that. And let's start by talking through the riders. Now, in real life here, we have 5 ladies lining up. And then at home, we also have some riders playing along from home.
We have an additional 2 riders from home as well. So that's what's kind of unique about this event. We've got the in-person contingent here at the Cube and a couple chiming in from home as well. A couple of familiar names on this course. Those who were part of the event or witnessed the event last year will probably recognise the name Kate Tridden, who had a very good
Yes.
night this time 12 months ago.
Indeed, indeed. Kate Tridden, she really burst onto the scene. Her partner, Josh Harris, who was Australia's only finalist at the World Championships last year that were also on MyWhoosh. He got her into bike riding through COVID. And what do you know? Next thing, she's a national champion. So she's out there. She's looking to defend a title. And she's joined in person by Gina Ricciardo. And she was the recent winner of the Grafton to Inverell. So she's endurance, but also has a very good sprint on her. Imogen Alton, who has represented Australia a number of times in esports internationally. Megan Moore, a local talent, 7-time junior champion on the road and track. Vanessa Nanfra and Madison Taylor as well.
A mix of ages there. Megan Moore, who you mentioned there, 7 titles. She's 16 years old. A
Yeah.
current student at Brisbane State High School. I'm pretty sure had to put in a permission slip to get the afternoon off to warm up for tonight's race. She had an extraordinary run. It's a very, very packed field. Now let's look at the course as well, Kate, because cycling fans will know this one. The Wollongong Circuit for the 2022 UCI World Championships. Now, we were actually there with our podcast, the Wheelhouse Cycling Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. I didn't clear that with the boss. That's plugged away anyway. And what I will tell you about that course, particularly that Mount Pleasant part toward the end, this 20-kilometre course, is it was far preferable to be driving around in a car.
It's a really tough course, and we can see playing out on course at the moment that it's a fairly slow start, conservative. Let's call it conservative, because over our shoulder we can see there's a fair bit of sweating happening. The towels are out, I can tell you that much. Brianna Samuel at home, fantastic. So great to have Brianna racing from home to make up the field. They are just looking after each other at this point, because it is a really, really tough course. And they need to make sure that they still have some bickies left in the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming into that first prime sprint as well. So we looking at the wattage so far, as you say, it's not. We're looking at about 25 minutes, half an hour race time. Not absolute wall to wall, full capacity.
No,
That is going to come.
and what is interesting is you can see their heart rate, you can see their power in the middle, you can see their cadence, so how many times they pedal per minute is over on the right. Now, if the number is illuminated in green, it means they're in the slipstream, right? That's what we're seeing. So when it's red, it means that they're in the wind,
Yep.
but green means they're in the slipstream. So
Fantastic.
And of course, in game, you get an advantage from being in the slipstream, just like you do out on the road as well. IRL, we like to call it. And we are watching Talia Chambers at the moment. But our riders, and there's 14 out on course. Talia Chambers, Vanessa Nanfra, Imogen Alton, Madison Taylor, Peter Antonello, Gina Ricardo.
Talia's another one of those athletes who started as a runner, had some injuries early on, and sort of got onto the bike for a bit of rehab. Decided this is pretty good. Started doing triathlon. There are a number of athletes tonight who have followed a similar path into the esports arena and are doing extraordinarily well. And we know that it's such a pathway.
So it's a 20-kilometre course. There is a preem, a sprint. So that's nice cycling jargon for sprint. 5.4 kilometres in. Now, it's on a pretty flat or slight uphill section, and that's through downtown Wollongong. It's an opportunity for the riders to maybe grab bragging rights, test their legs a little bit, and see if they're fastest through the sprint segment. Now, there is another one at the 14-kilometre mark, but by that point, I imagine they'll be saving a little bit more energy. There's also in the course, of course, the KOM, the QOM for this ladies race, and that goes over 10%. Some really pinchy moments through that, and that is where we'll find our winner, Joel. So
it's going to be decisive. It's short, but it is high and it's fast,
and we've just seen our happen. So Gina Ricardo took the win there ahead of Imogen Alton. Tilly Field, who was a medalist here last year, she's riding from home now. She rides for Movistar Esports team. She is absolutely best in the business. So wonderful to have Tilly here as well. They did go for the sprint. It split up a little bit. So now we're having a number of different groups, different bunches. Whether they continue, it's an opportunity for somebody who might think, oh, and fortune favours the brave.
It sure does. Here more than anywhere, this beautiful arena known as the Cube. This is where we saw some unexpected results last year. Of course, a lot of drama in a repeated final. I don't feel like we're going to see that this year because these guys are right in the mix at the moment. But it's one of those races where anything can happen. That 20 kilometres, and we're still seeing, let's just say, reasonable sort of pace. But they're still very much conserving themselves.
And Imogen Alton, she competed in Zwift Academy and was a finalist there. So she has a really long esports history, but she's a medical student. So she's currently studying and working hard. That's where esports really falls into her strength because she's able to train around her commitments. We've got a break, Joel, our first real break of the day.
And is Gina Ricardo at the top there who's pushed ahead?
Now she's gone through, she's got you might notice the little green jersey because she won that first sprint.
Yep.
So she is the sprint competition leader. So Talia Chambers, Kate Tridden, Gina Ricardo, Imogen Alton, and Tilly Field make up that top five. It's then only about 5 seconds back next group, and that's Madison Taylor, Vanessa Nanfra, who are leading that group.
Have a look at the focus. Have a look at the hard work. And if I'm not mistaken, the backdrop, which is a kitchen. I love that. The arena that is.
Or maybe a laundry.
Is it a laundry?
Yes, as long as it's well ventilated. You can see the wind blowing your hair. Fans, such an important part of esports is having a good fan. And I'm not talking about the people who clap and encourage you. They're really helpful too. But in order to keep your body temperature down, because it can be very, very difficult to regulate body temperature when you're indoors and you don't get that cooling effect of the wind like you do when you're, out on the road riding your bike. So we do have this group of 5. Now, Brianna Samuel is pushing hard to try and bring it back together. It's shrunk a bit. So now it's only about a 2 or 3 second gap there. But this group of 5, it has all the names we can expect.
Yeah, these are the big names you've tilted very much. Imogen Alton, Talia Chambers, Ricardo Field, and Kate Tridden, defending champion from last year. This stage, though, coming up to this next sort of 8-9 kilometres to the 14-kilometre mark, we might see a little bit of a settle as well, a little bit more pacing. We've got some, I guess, rolling sort of terrain. The smart races here will look to conserve a little bit more, and we can have a look at some of those heart rates, the cadence as well, which is sort of hovering uh, reasonably steady at the moment, Kate.
So Kate Tridden, she comes from Hobart. She rides for Launceston Cycling Club. She's been a little bit ill leading into this competition, so she's thinking, or maybe that's a red herring. She's very talented. She certainly is looking to qualify for the World Championships, so to make the Australian team. The winner will automatically qualify as national champion through the selection policy, the AusCycling selection policy. So she will, whoever wins will be able to go, and if that is Kate, she'll make her way back into the World Championship pool. Now they are on MyWhoosh for 2025 and 2026. Last year was the first time they did that, and they did an in real life final in Abu Dhabi. It was absolutely spectacular. And Kate Tridden just missed out. She was 2 riders shy of making that in real life final. Her partner Josh Harris, he did make it.
But you know what you say, get back on the bike and go again. And that's what she's doing. And I will say just quickly, a very good evening to anyone streaming in from Abu Dhabi, indeed wherever you are as well. This broadcast is very much going everywhere at the moment. This event is getting bigger and bigger. Make no mistake of the immensity of the esteem around this green and gold jersey. Kate Tridden will tell you all about it. You know what? Kate Bates will tell you all about it because she's got a collection of them hanging up at home herself.
And
There's
you can see the beautiful cube. We are on the edge of the cube, and so it's a wonderful atmosphere in here, and you can see that the in real life riders are certainly working very hard. There's a front group of 8 riders at the moment. So a bit of a recap. We've got Gina Ricardo, Imogen Alton, Megan Moore, Vanessa Nanfra, and Madison Taylor in real life. In person, that is who you are watching there. We've got Peter Antonello, Hannah Bush, Talia Chambers, Nina Dowling, Kate Tridden, Madeline McNeil, Brianna Samuel, Pip Hill, and Tilly Field racing from home. And they're starting to climb. Wollongong is not a flat course at all. And if you look top right of screen, there's so much going on. So you've got to choose where to look sometimes. If you look top right of screen, see what the gradient is. So you can see that it's under 1%. False flat, that's what I would call that.
That's it. When in Wollongong, they kind of stand out. It's significant that this course has been selected out of the 800 or so on the MyWhoosh platform because it's a little bit of there's a surprise at every corner. You're going to work really hard at the end. I want to just quickly highlight Madison, who is her comeback tonight is quite extraordinary. Madison Taylor, it was only a couple of years ago, she was looking like she'd be out of the sport forever with a broken back and a broken pelvis. Another one of those athletes that found their way to the e-bike in rehab and decided that that was the place for them. And here they are in the final here at the QUT Cube this evening. I love stories like that at the Esports National Championships for 2025, Kate. Gives you the goosies a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. Now, you're probably not surprised to know that her nickname is Mads, but because she says she's a little bit nuts. And she reckons all cyclists are. What do you think?
Does she win the nicknames? Because we've got some ripping nicknames in there tonight, let me tell you. Hers is right up there, to be fair. Got a couple of basics. Smith becomes Smithy, sure. I like it when Mads become Maz, though. That's fantastic.
So we've got our 2 views there, and you can see the front group that has formed. Now that's Talia Chambers, Imogen Alton, Tilly Field, Gina Ricardo, Kate Tridden is up there, Peter Antonello is also up there. Maddie Taylor, she's leading the chase back, so you can see they're nearly back, and that is when you out racing and you can see the back wheel, you're nearly there, but sometimes it can be just so difficult. And again, through this section, it is a fault. So you're not getting a lot of recovery when it is false flat. What we can certainly expect to see is a really sustained effort in the last kilometres, but we're in the middle section of the race at the moment.
How much can we expect to see that effort sort of increase, I guess, as we get toward that 15-kilometre mark? We're not too far away.
Well, the section from about 18 kilometres onwards is where it's really critical. And the run into that is where we'll see people really starting to save as much energy as they can. A lot of people aren't really wanting to go there in a group, though. We can see already the movement has started, and Maddie Taylor is the first antagonist. Talia Chambers as well, and that's because they just went through intermediate sprint number 2. Will Gina Ricciardo keep her sprint jersey? Is the question. We'll see when we get the points come up. So that means that they're at the 14-kilometre mark. So bearing in mind, it's 20 kilometres. At about 18K, it starts to really kick up. So we've only got a couple of K until that really. This goes so fast. I mean, the ladies out on the bike. Joel?
I believe, that was the first squabble that we've seen, the first proper argy-bargy for position. That's what we're going to see from now on, a real fight for position, because we've got narrow, steep climb coming up. And as Kate says, that group, we're going to be seeing those power numbers spike big time, watts per kilo. Keep your eye on that stat in the next couple of minutes, Kate, because that's where we're going to see this the cream rise, as they say. And the likes of those who have been there, done it before, been around the esports, that doesn't really count for anything because we're doing different courses and the race energy, the way they've interacted so far is completely different. So all of your expectations, this is the time they might be going out the window.
Well, that's it. So just like they're on a real road, when you hit a narrow or a steep climb, you want to be at the front. The same exists in game. It's such a real replication of what it's like racing on the road. And these athletes are incredible. We've got champions from the track, from the road, esports, all of them come together. They have some shared attributes. So some of them, a few crossovers, but they will be using their race savvy at this point. Up that final climb, I'm not sure tactics will be the really big decider, Joel, because they'll all be just absolutely throwing everything they can into what is incredibly difficult final climb. If a solo rider with a tiny little gap can go over, that could be a really big advantage. But if a few riders crest together, then the final 200 and 300 metre sprint, I think, could be quite ferocious.
I'm interested in to see if we are going to have a surprise here because, as you say, looking again, pace setters so far are the names that we have been talking about very much. But looking down toward the Peter Antonellos and that who are running a little bit off the pace at the moment, are we seeing a bit of an energy spike that might flip this in the next couple of minutes? I'm not so sure because so far we're cutting around and we're seeing, let's be completely honest, all of these girls must be absolutely by now. And I think it's going to come down to where you are and when you jump.
And we saw the wrong distance. So they're actually now coming into that second sprint. So they've got a little bit longer to go than we thought.
Okay.
I don't know that they'll be loving that. They'll be like, well, we wish we were on Kate's time schedule. But there we've Gina, the intermediate sprint. There was a bit of an effort. Gina Ricciardo certainly has bragging rights so far. And here she comes into the sprint. Ricciardo takes off Brianna Samuel hot on her heel. Peter Antonello has moved up to second, but Ricciardo takes the win in the sprint. She then sits up. You can see her avatar. And she's here in the cube. You can see her in the top left of screen. That is Gina. So she's two very big efforts there to get that across the line. But she will take those points again and maintain that green sprint jersey. Now, here we go. Gina Ricciardo, Peter Antonello, Brianna Samuel, Tilly Field, Kate Tridden, Imogen Outen. Field, Tridden and Outen. Now, this is what interests me because they're there. They're making sure that they're on the right wheel, but they're not sticking their head into the wind at all. So they are riding really smart. Peter Antonello, kind of burst into the scene last year, and we were commentating on her at this event. She's a really exciting rider, and I think that she sometimes could be overlooked when you're looking at those really big names.
Yeah.
She's a real sneaky, a real smoky, in my view. But this top group of 7 riders, now you can see they're really starting to jockey for position. They're taking a last breath, 15 kilometres into 19.7. And Joel, this is the moment. If they needed Rick, now is the time.
We're going to have a look at the race map in just a bit of a run an eye over what is left for these guys. I'm really, really curious about Gina with those 2 efforts for those first 2 sprints. Where's that going to leave her? Having a look at that now, Kate, you can see that red at the end. That's where our attention now turns. I have to admit, after that second sprint, probably expecting to see a little bit more separation, but we haven't really, have we? So it's still really up in the air. I'm curious about those energy levels, especially for Gina. She's the lady I'm watching at the moment.
And you can see that there has been quite a lot of effort to this point in the race, but not because the course is overly lumpy, but because it's just also not really flat. Even those sections that you might think are flat, actually they're kind of false flat. So there's not a lot of recovery. But what you can see is that Wollongong climb. You can see just how steep that is at the end. We are 15.5 kilometres in. This is where the riders are starting, not just, they've already had their water. You can see in their body language, Gina Ricciardo, she's got a really high, nice pedaling cadence. She's top left of cube if you're looking at that shot. And if you're looking in game, you can also, it is real, the cadence. And we're watching Tilly Field. Now, Tilly Field, sitting in a slightly lower cadence, more around 79. She's really conserving. She is an excellent climber. Kate Tridden, an excellent climber. Imogen Alton, you could probably guess what I'm going to say, Joel. Excellent climber. So we've got some real talent coming into this final. 16 kilometres into 19.7.
Peter Antonello's has an interesting story. Kate was here last year, just missed out on the podium, but a couple of years ago, going back a while into her teenage years, she nearly lost her life at 17 years of age with hemolytic uremic syndrome, and basically says, I like to tackle every challenge because you don't know if it's going to be your last. And I think that's that's pretty much sums up the performance we've seen so far.
It does. We're starting to see a bit more action now. Conserving, time to conserve, we're done. They're done. And little gaps are opening up. So every time we see one of those little gaps, we know that there's some suffering going on. I can tell you that people are getting excited here in the Cube about what they are about to see, because they know that every time Gina Ricciardo gets out of her seat and moves, people suffer. Good on Gina. Gina the enforcer.
They're all sitting there saying, no, you're right. You're better in the saddle, Gina. You just stay sitting for us, please.
The group has come back together. We now have 8 riders, so 8 of the 14. And the pace is off again. So a number of the riders dropped over those little lumps. They've come back together. Kate Tridden's there, Peter Antonello, Tilly Field, Gina Ricciardo, Imogen Alton, all of
those names.
The big names. All of the names are here. You can see a lovely live shot from the Cube here.
It's looking amazing. And a quick reminder, this venue itself, one of the finest broadcast, I guess, in the Southern Hemisphere. We've got 26 giant touch screens spanning 2 stories. Don't believe me, have a look for yourself. The entire wall behind us is a screen, and the virtual real race is being projected all over this event, but also streamed all over the world, of course, as well. Now, Kate, I do have to ask you, as we get to the real pointy end of this race, at what point does all your careful planning, tactics, and the strategy you've taken into this race go out the door in its entirety?
About 5 minutes ago, Joel, is my thinking. No, you take a strategy in, but you have to have a strategy A through Z, because you can't control the other riders. So if you go in and say, I'm going to attack at this point, what if somebody's already attacked and you're tired? And sometimes also the athletes, don't feel how they think they might. So you got to accelerate and realize when you're accelerating that your legs don't necessarily have it. I think when we've got 17.8 kilometres in, this is where it starts to climb. So they're on the climb in earnest. You'll
Oh,
see it ticking up. And here we go. The road is really starting to tilt upwards. This is the business end of the race, the deciding climb, all of the tactics, all of the energy saving. This is what it comes down to, Joel.
and once a reminder, beautiful Mount Pleasant, best viewed and best descended from the comfort of a car for most people.
Yeah, Wollongong's fantastic. So the top 7 in this group: Peter Antonello, Talia Chambers, Gina Ricciardo, Brianna Samuel, Tilly Field, Imogen Outen, and Kate Tridden. They're up to 3%, and the attacks have started. Talia Chambers is
Oh, it's
the
on now.
first to launch. 7
She has
watts
gone big
per
here.
kilo. She has gone big. Imogen Outen, hot on her heels, goes straight past her. Imogen is not waiting around, and this is a remarkable ride from a young lady with an incredible story. She has been so successful in esports before. One was in the finals and in the mix. And
Have a look at that gradient.
well, Tilly Field has just gone over the top. Can Alton
Oh.
hold the wheel of Tilly Field? Field and Alton are neck and neck. And there's Gina Ricciardo
Have a look at
live in the
Gina.
cube. Now she's 4 seconds back. She's sitting in 4th. Kate Tridden is with her, but Tilly Field and Imogen Outen, they are riding away. And you can see from this shot, Gina is sitting there with Kate Tridden on her wheel. But up the road is where the bike race is. Tilly Field and Imogen Outen. Our winner is going to come from these two.
Who's it going to be, though? We know Tilly went hard. Imogen went harder early, though. I feel like Tilly, if she can just keep this input she's got now.
Well, Field has distanced her.
She's
So
pushing ahead.
Field
Here she
is
goes.
pushing ahead. Alton now 2 seconds adrift. Field out of the seat, over the climb, and now on the descent. This is where Alton has to rally. If Imogen Outen can rally, she'll be able to get back to Tilly Field for a sprint.
That gap slowly increasing, though. We are inside, pretty much inside the last kilometre now. So Tilly Field has pushed her advantage out. 3 seconds at the moment, but Imogen not showing away just yet. She's hit at 4.9 watts per kilo, but Tilly's still putting out slightly superior numbers.
Here comes Alton. 19.7 kilometres is where that KOM banner is. Alton is coming back to Field. Field desperately pedaling, clambering, trying to maintain this gap. But Alton, she is not faltering. She had a moment's pause. She lost the wheel, but she is fighting with everything she can. And there is Tilly Field, but Imogen Outen is in person, and we can hear people shouting for her here, cheering.
Huge.
Come on, Imogen. Come on, Tilly.
Imogen's face is a picture of pain at the moment, but the crowd here is getting right behind her. And you saw just Tilly is working, getting up out of that saddle in the absolute pointy end of this race. Still has a little bit of work to do, Imogen. That gap has increased further, Kate.
Well, after they climb, they still have to head on down to virtual Margaret Street in Wollongong for that finish. They are in the final 500 metres now, and Tilly Field,
she's got it.
She is in the plumb position to take this national championship, this national title. Imogen Outen sitting in second. Talia Chambers, what a ride from her. She has clawed her way back onto the podium. And we are watching Tilly Field fight for her life here.
8 seconds to hold, but have a look at those numbers again. She's increasing. Her wattage is going up. How is that possible?
Talia Chambers has just leapfrogged. She has just caught and passed Imogen Outen. But can she hold on for it? Coming up, you can see the KOM just up the road. Field, Chambers, Outen. You could throw a blanket over Chambers and Outen. But Chambers is trying to fly across to Tilly Field here.
She is.
Now,
A bit of late
Field
stream.
is still holding on over the KOM.
Here it is. Have a look at that virtual Wollongong crowd too. Shout out to them getting behind the riders. We love the gong. Tilly Field. I think, Kate, can we put down the glasses? Can we? She's 7 seconds.
She's 7 seconds, but she's not home just yet.
This is
Field over the KOM first. In hot pursuit, Imogen Alton. She has just got to fight a tiny little bit more. Can she claw her way back to Chambers? But Tilly Field.
She has been perpetual motion through this, pretty much from that last climb. Talia Chambers, the effort we have seen in the last 500 metres has been nothing short of extraordinary. I don't think it's going to get her there today. Anything can happen at any point.
This MyWhoosh platform is absolutely amazing, putting on a show, and here they come into the finish. Tilly Field will be our national esports champion for 2025. She was pipped at the post last year, close but didn't make it. But there she goes.
She's done it.
Our national champion, Tilly Field. What an incredible effort to solo. Talia Chambers goes over in second. And it's Imogen Alton who'll take the bronze medal. Goodness me, Joel. What a race. What an attack.
I feel like I've
from
torn
Tilly
a
Field.
hamstring just watching that.
Wow, that was incredible. Don't be fooled by the list, the ranking on the side of the screen. That is where they are now. So that's not where they were when they crossed the line. Tilly Field did take the win, but she's stopped pedaling.
Yeah.
So now everybody's going past her, and so her name's dropping down the list because she is done. That was an incredible performance by her. She's really experienced in the esports world.
And you can tell the grind that she put in at that last section there. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about that 90 mark leading into that Queen of the Mountain section and the back end of that. She just played it perfectly. It was
she
like
did.
a finely tuned violin. It really was, and it was really, really good to watch. But I have to say, the drama, not without it. We did say it earlier with Gina pushing really hard on those first two sprints, and there's the trap of this 20-kilometre course. It is a long enough distance to find you out. I think we're going to see that across the evening. Going hard early, and we saw it with Gina there, but I feel like Tilly has just ridden this beautiful, consistent. Like the power numbers were never low. She was 4.5 throughout that last section. And we've seen the results today. Congratulations to her. She is a national champion. And you know what? We have two crack reporters on the scene, and we will hopefully be able to catch up with some of our riders here at the Cube a little bit later. You can hear the crowd, the tension, the drama, the buzz. It's absolutely electric. This is all part of Brisbane Cycling Festival. This is the pinnacle of esports racing here in Australia, and it's a pleasure to be bringing it to you. We have seen that women's final once again. Kate Tridden, the defending champion, unable to get through it. She got through the race, but unable to repeat the victory. But just off the podium, I think in fourth, Kate.
Yep.
It was all right. She did a good job.
It was really conservative in the first half. We expected that. In the midsection, it really was Gina Ricciardo who animated it. She was going for those preem sprints, and she did a wonderful job in both of them. She won. It cost her a bit in the end, and that hill really hurt her, especially when Imogen Alton and Tilly Field laid down those blistering attacks, and that is when it all went. So here is our overall standings. Tilly Field taking the win ahead of Talia Chambers and Imogen Alton in third place. Kate Tridden, she did come in sixth. She was our champion from last year.
Yeah.
Brave ride from her.
Yeah, for sure.
Really brave ride from her. Gina Ricciardo in fifth. Peter Antonello in sixth. Brianna Samuel in seventh. And Maddie Taylor rounding out the top 8 there. Big round of applause here in the Cube for all of our in real life riders.
Yeah, we're going to go to one of our reporters very soon and catch up with one of the athletes here at the Cube. I just want to highlight again Talia's numbers there, putting a 10-second gap between her and Imogen. That we will go to the Cube, I believe, go to race.
We are going to go to Tilly Field. Tilly, that was absolutely incredible. What a race. You just look overjoyed, and so you should. And what a beautiful evening it is there. The sun's still very much shining, or day. You're in Europe. Tilly,
Yeah.
you raced so hard here last year and you just missed out. I know this means so much to you.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, like I gave up, like it feels a bit like I gave up other disciplines to be here in esports. So to have a national medal in it is, yeah, like it hasn't sunk in. Like it's really cool. Like,
Hold
yeah,
on, Tilly, not a medal. You are the national champion.
Yeah, you're the green and gold wearer. You are the wearer for the next year, Tellyfield.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not comprehending what that means right now, but yeah, like amazing. It's all you want is to win.
Talk
so
us
when you get one,
Talk us through the attacks at the end when Imogen Alton, you and she were really going neck and neck. Was there a moment that you thought, I can do this? Or were you just throwing the kitchen sink at the race?
Yeah, I think it was quite a positive experience for me. I would describe it as, in that because I was near the front of the pack, I knew that people would go hard. And I guess when I followed the hardest attack, which was Imogen's, I thought this is good because I know that I've got more to give than this. So that's a positive, mentally it's a positive sign. And yeah, that just gave me the confidence that I've got it. And when I started gapping and I saw no one was catching Imogen, like in the beginning, I thought, okay, this is good. Just fight now, just fight. Everything you've got, you just fight. Don't worry about it. So yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your preparation? How many times did you ride the Wollongong course?
0. This is not going to be a good answer, but because I've been in Mallorca for an esports event, I did a lot of big climbs in Spain the last week, and then I just didn't ride for the last 3 days until last night. I tested my setup here in Spain, and and then I just thought this is the best I've got for my circumstances, so I'll just have a crack with that.
And yeah, have a crack. You did. You're now the national champion. Congratulations. I got to ask that. We were talking a lot about Gina on those first 2 sprints, working hard, really hard, and then sort of fading. Was it difficult to you're watching her work for those sprints, was it difficult to resist going after her? Were you thinking about that final Queen climb?
Yeah, I wasn't contesting the sprints, but I was making sure. I've got a lot of practice on this platform in sprinting for cream, so I'm used to them being hard, and I'm used to knowing where to position myself so that I do the minimum amount of work through them but stay with the group. I probably have more experience than a lot of people in the race, to be fair, on this platform, so I think that was an advantage, and I was again,
amazing
about how that was.
Well, congratulations, our national champion. Thank you very much, Tilly, and when you're back in Australia, we'll pop some champagne for you.
Woo!
Yeah. And Tilly will be straight to the actual Wollongong to climb up Mount Pleasant tomorrow morning, I'm sure of it. Now, let's come back here to the Cube. Now we have our reporter on the scene, Samil Dioji. He's with us again this year. He did a great job last year. Samil, the tension, the drama, the buzz, the vibe, what do you got for us, buddy? Hey, guys. Can't hear Samil. Can you hear him?
They're not getting audio. Just
Alrighty, can we hear? Alrighty, they can hear us in studio now. Imogen, congratulations. You just came 3rd place. What is going through your mind?
I just can't believe what's just happened. I've had so many injuries and so many setbacks, and I got into cycling through esports, and to see how far it's come today, like to have this in person and to be here, it just means the absolute world to me.
How does it feel that, you're with these competitors racing virtually and you have some people that aren't even in the cube? How does that change that atmosphere for you?
It's very strange because I'm used to racing esports without having the people next to me. So it was kind of like felt almost if a bit like psychological gaming, like I was trying to like look around and see who was suffering, which you can do on the road. So I wasn't used to that sort of component, which was good to have. But it would have been nice to have seen some of the other girls that were racing, see how much they were suffering.
Now, you mentioned people suffering, but I know for sure that your family weren't suffering. They were cheering you on. I was having a chat to your sister, and she's so proud of you. What does it mean to see your family here cheering you on while you're cycling in a national championship?
It means the world. I'm going to expose my sister here. She's a far more accomplished athlete than me. She was in the Olympics last year, and so to have her cheering me on and be proud of me, it means the world. She's my absolute idol. Out of the boat because she rose, and just as a person. So yeah, it means the world to have them here too. Yeah.
2 elite athletes in the family. How good is that? What's dinner time like?
Bog pasta, man. Pasta, pizza. Yeah.
Now, are you guys pretty competitive? What's the vibe like?
Oh no, Lily's far better than me. There's
All right,
no
wrap it up
competition
for
there,
now,
so she'd just smoke me at anything.
All right, well, you have a great rest of your night. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, thank you.
And we'll go back to you in studio.
Well, there you go. All smiles here at the Cube QUT, but we're only just getting started. The women's final run and done, and an extraordinary race in the end, and we expected nothing less. I will just reveal a little behind-the-scenes nugget here, without naming names. One of the riders today, ahead of that female race, turned up at the venue forgetting one very important thing for a cyclist. One really important thing. What do you reckon that was, Kate?
The bicycle.
She didn't bring her bike, so luckily the team here had a couple of spares. Anyway, we will come back very, very soon, building up to the men's final here at the Cube. QUT, Gardens Point in Brisbane, part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival. It's the AusCycling Esports Open National Championships. Back in a tick. Okay, we are back here. Australian Cycling Esports National Championships here at the Cube QUT Brisbane Gardens Point campus, a sprawling technical facility, one of the finest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Have a look behind me right now and have a look at that two-story screen. We have competitors racing in the men's and women's finals tonight from all over the country and right here in the clinic. My name's Joel Spreadbury. Kate Bates. Hello.
Hello, Joel. Look at what I've got in my hot little hand. This is what they're
do you
racing for tonight. We've also got one of the very beautiful ARA AusCycling jerseys here. Now, here's a fun little story. This jersey is actually for a lady by the name of Liz Smithson, who represented Australia at the Esport World Championships last year on MyWhoosh. And she didn't get her jersey because she was it got lost in the mail, essentially. So we've got it here for her. It's going to make its way back to Abu Dhabi. In the meantime, it's a prop.
Are you telling me I have to give it back?
Sorry.
Oh. I was going to say it was mine, but I just accidentally put it through the dryer and it doesn't quite fit anymore. But yeah, no, this is what we're racing for. This is a extremely coveted piece of apparel, the green and gold jersey, around your shoulders for the next 12 months. Now, in the women's final, we saw that green and gold jersey handed over, didn't we?
We did.
Saw reigning champion Kate Tridden coming in fourth. An extraordinary performance at the top from Tilly.
Yeah, so 20 kilometres of racing. Now, they're racing around the course from the Wollongong World Championships. We were there on the ground, Joel, and I can tell you that this course in-game, in MyWhoosh, is every bit as hard as what the athletes were finding it at the time. It was an interesting race because for a lot of the time they were looking at each other, really waiting and watching. Gina Ricciardo, she was the first to move, really the antagonist. She went for the intermediate sprints and they happened at the 5 kilometre mark and then the 14 kilometre mark. After that 14 kilometre mark though, Joel, that's when it starts to really pitch up because at the 17K mark is when they are properly climbing up to 10% to the high heavens. I think that hurt Gina's legs a little bit, but Tilly Field and Imogen Alton, they were the first two to move.
And when they moved, they very much moved. Boy, did they move.
And we saw a wonderful picture of Tilly. She's in Mallorca at the moment. She races for Movistar professionally for the esports team. So she's over there in the beautiful sunshine and she was beaming. So she has been so close on a number of occasions to taking home this title. I don't think she could even process what had just happened.
I love that she's been training in the mountains of Spain for Mount Pleasant in beautiful Wollongong.
I know.
And she's sitting there going, I thought that I was ready after doing the climbs in Spain. But then I hit Mount Pleasant and I learned another lesson, but she learned it beautifully and came through. And as we say, that pacing, that persistence, those power numbers she had in those last couple of kilometres, that was a beautifully executed race.
Well, by the end of the race, they were all completely out of battery. Speaking of, I'm going to turn the laptop's going to turn off soon if we don't get a charger. So I'll get somebody to get us a charger in here for that.
And for those tuning in tonight, bear with us. We've got a team here. There's 27 people involved here at QUT Gardens Point doing an extraordinary job. We have had a couple of bits of what I like to call technical mumbo jumbo and will never ever understand. Thank you for bearing with us throughout it, because I will assure you that the team here working their absolute guts off to make sure that this broadcast continues smoothly. So thank you for your patience.
See, now I would have said working their butts off, but I guess butts. I tell you what, they are, the riders, throwing everything out on course on this race. It'll be interesting to see how much the men take from the women's race. It's the same course, same distance, everything is very equal. The MyWhoosh platform has over 800 different courses on it, over 1,000 kilometres of roads that you can ride. They have this awesome thing called the Sunday Race Club, and the Sunday Race Club is where all of the athletes can jump into a league. You can win a lot of money. There's 6 different divisions. It truly is a fantastic platform to go and explore. And we've had World Championships on this platform last year. It was the first year in Abu Dhabi. We had an Aussie finalist there, Josh Harris. Guess what, Joel? He's back.
He's back.
Racing tonight. Now, he was second last year to his
It was a bit awkward, to be honest. They're still besties, though. It's all good. They at the time it was a bit like, look, let's not talk for a couple of days. But I think they got back into each other's DMs and congrats, good race. Yeah, let's go for a beer. It's all good. Yep. Oh, juice! Quick, change the shot. Quick, ASAP. Help these people out. We got some wonderful stories here. I've just been reading through some of the winding paths that these riders take to be here on this platform and the many pathways that this platform can provide, be it onto the road and the track or vice versa. We have road and track national champions racing tonight across the board, but we have a lot of athletes who have made their way into this medium through rehabilitation, through injury. You see a lot of triathlon. You see a lot of those athletes who have got that multidisciplinary talent. And as a result, you see many, many different race approaches. And you do see one hell of a lot of endurance. And that's what we saw in the women's final. I'll be really interested to see how that plays out in the men's. But one thing I'm noting, Kate, is that when we do a bit of fun fact finding with our riders, there's one injury that comes up more than any other. And it's a busted collarbone. Everyone seems to have a busted collarbone. I think it's safe to say, if you don't have a busted collarbone, you may bother turning up. Is that right? Okay, no worries. Well, Kate, I believe will be back with us very, very soon. So for now, I'm just going to have a bit of a look over the men's field coming up for this race. Let's talk about the guys who are here tonight. I've got Lyndon Milostic. I want to start with him. He's just 18 years old. He's already riding in some of Australia's big one-day classics. We have Luke Allport representing the Camden Cycling Club, beautiful part of the world. Shout out to you down there in Camden. I'm sure they're all down at the clubs watching on the monitor, shouting on. Tim Brook from the Highlands Trails. Jake Cawthorne, a local boy from the southeast. He rolls for the Gold Coast Cycling Club. Timmy Cutler is up from Portland on the Central Coast. Kate, you would know as a proud Sydney-sider, another absolute hub of cycling down there on the North Coast. Mark Gates is here from Tassie. He's out of Launceston City Cycling Club. Peter, as I mentioned, here from Penrith. That's getting a little bit close to Kate Bates territory. So whenever you hear a rider from Penrith, you hear old Parramatta favourite Kate Bates here get a little bit spicy because Parramatta and Penrith, a little bit of a rival. Next, we have a very famous surname. If you're an AusCycling fan, Nick Spratt, brother of Spratty Blue Shoes herself, our very own Amanda Spratt, multiple Olympic medalist as well. Jonathan Cridland is here from Southern Cross Cycling Club. Andrew Downey from the Carnegie Caulfield Club. And, as we mentioned before, Josh Harris, another boy from Launceston City.
We did see Mark Gates here last year. He's the plumber Mark.
That's
so
right.
It's fantastic
He fixed
to have him back.
Right.
He did. Now, he has said that his biggest challenge really in the esports world is that he's a parent to a young child. He's got a full-time job. Finding not just the motivation, but the time and the energy. He is an absolute warrior. And I'm really, really glad to see him back. Something I've really loved about watching the athletes progress through esports, because esports for cycling is relatively new, is we've seen this incredible emergence of super talented athletes who would not have access if it was a road race.
Yep.
So if you use Mark Gates as a example, he's got a full-time job, he's got parenting and family responsibilities as well. He's not in a position to go and race his bike overseas, but this means that he can compete with the very best in the world and really stick it to them as well.
Yep.
Like, it's a really great opportunity. It's a leveler. And I really think that in the future, we're going to see a lot more esports racing as the platform really continues to grow. And look, MyWhoosh is fantastic. Now, I'm going to call you on something, Joel. You mentioned Parramatta. You opened the door to me. The first Australian course on the MyWhoosh platform was Parramatta Park.
You know, I was helping you out, giving you a chance to get that in there, Kate, because it's not a broadcast if we don't mention the legendary Parramatta Cycling Club. And I feel like Tick? Is that the box tick there?
Tick,
Tick?
tick. Yes, and we've got Matt Smithson, who's come out from Abu Dhabi from MyWhoosh to oversee everything, which is so fantastic that they're supporting it so heartily and sending a team over. And I grew up racing with Matt. So it's a very small world. And that is why Parramatta Park was the
Hang on.
first in, because he rode around there himself and put it in game.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me you two raced together at
Parramatta Cycling Club.
Goshen. So
Yep,
you
there
owe
you
me
go.
$20 now. Fantastic. Look, but some of the clubs we named there, some illustrious cycling clubs from all around Australia. And right here in Brisbane, we have a number of them represented as well. Brizzy, the Gold Coast, Balmoral, some of those big name clubs as well. So, Kate, we're not too far away from a start now. Should we have a quick look at the course to recap for those who have only just tuned in?
Let's take a look at the course. So you saw the graphic come up before, and on that graphic, it looks like a meander, a few little lumps and bumps until the very big climb at the finish. It's 20 kilometres. There's 2 intermediate sprints along the way. Now, the KOM is at 19.7 kilometre mark, which leaves only 300 metres down Margaret Street into virtual Wollongong. If you go over the top on your own, there's the big advantage, because it's just not enough time to be able to catch back up. So what we saw in the women was a very, very strong attack at the bottom of the KOM, and that was between Tilly Field and Imogen Outen. They did a lot of distance. Like, they really split everything into pieces. And so our male riders, they'll be looking at that. You know, they'll have watched that and they will know the moments. But we do have a really experienced field of esports riders. Nick Spratt, you mentioned him before, younger brother to Amanda Blue Shoes.
Brady Blue Shoes, yep. What colour shoes does he wear? Is he blue as well? Or
yeah.
We'll find out.
I don't know, actually. Okay. But Nick's really experienced on the MyWhoosh platform, and he does a Sunday Race Club really frequently. He knows this game better than anybody. So when we're looking at the strategy and we're looking at how you race, now Tilly Field, when we spoke to her after she won her gold medal and her jersey, her national champions jersey, we asked her how many times she'd ridden the Wollongong course. I was expecting her to say, 2 dozen, 5 dozen. How many was it, Joel?
First time today.
First time
I did. I literally, when you said it, I've read it probably 30 times this week in the lead up to the race. But no, just today, and that's what's extraordinary. And that's what you said about how much will this male field take out of what we saw in the female race? Because Tilly herself, she saw some action early, those early sprints with Gina having a red-hot go pretty early and falling off the pace considerably. Those interesting decisions, I guess, influencing the tactics that we saw live from the rest of that race. It'll be fascinating to see what's going to go out the window as far as what these guys have brought in, because if the women's race was any indication, basically everything goes out the window once the pain hits. I love it. The beautifully, ironically named Mount Pleasant. 20 seconds to go here, Kate.
We've got 20 riders on the start line. We will see a new champion emerge, because we do not have Josh Wilson this year, but Josh Harris. Now, he made the final of the World Championships eSport in Abu Dhabi last year.
We're away. This is it. The men's final eSports National Championship 2025.
And Josh Harris, straight out of the blocks. He is waiting for nobody. And Luke Allport, he's decided that his best chance is to go early and to really wear everybody out. And it's a brave move, I'll say that.
What's the rest of the field thinking here? Like, are you going, Luke, what are you doing this to us for? Because you kind of have to go with him to an extent. Do you really want to be doing that inside the first 500 metres?
Well, so Luke said that if he could do another sport, it would be swimming. He's a really big fan of endurance sports. He's got a really good set of lungs on him.
Okay.
So I don't think he's intimidated by this. And there's a great shot of him. Now, he's wearing the green and gold because he did compete in the Australian team for the World Championships eSports on MyWhoosh last year. So he knows what he's capable of. What I can tell you is he's got a huge amount of power, but more than that, he's a brave heart.
Yeah, okay.
That is what we are seeing play out.
Well, then really, really early, keeping those watts up at around the 5.5 mark, still inside that first kilometre. In fact, they've just crossed it now. And have a look at those numbers, Kate. That big bright green number in the middle there. They're working pretty hard. The cadence has settled down a little bit early, but he has really, really set a tone here. I'm interested looking at Josh Harris in the garage there. You mentioned regulation before for the body. Obviously, you're not replicating a real ride. You're not getting the wind. You're not getting any of that. So having your fan setting and all that sort of stuff is really, really crucial, especially for 20 kilometres of absolute torture.
It is. And a lot of these athletes are very experienced. And have done a lot of racing on the esports platform. Josh Harris, he looks really comfortable. But Luke Allport, now he's been reeled back in. By the way, Joel, we've got a father and son here, Peter Milostic and Linton Milostic. Now, Linton Milostic, we wanted to name him in the Australian team for esports last year. He was too young.
That's how good they are.
Right.
And that's what I love about the open category, because you're 18 years old, you're racing your dad. We had a 16-year-old in the race before this as well, racing against some ladies in their 30s, 20s. It doesn't matter. They come from everywhere. I love what Lincoln said about getting into cycling as well. He's like, well, I'm a Milostic, so I didn't really have a choice. We're seeing that play out here.
I mean, Milostic is like a name of royalty in the cycling world. Peter has done everything in his time, and it's great to see him out there racing as well. They're definitely not sitting back and waiting for the race to play out. 20 kilometres isn't a particularly long race. So even though you might think, gee, for Luke Allport, that's an early move. That is a brave move, and it is. But if your strategy is to wear them down and get to that climb with some people with tired legs, well, you have to make their legs tired.
Yep.
And in doing so, you make your own legs tired. So it is a gamble. But I think that based on what we saw in the women's, there's about a 300-metre really critical piece of course at the 17.5-kilometre mark.
That's the one.
And nobody in this field wants to get to that point in the course with Josh Harris having good legs. They need to test him, they need to push him, and they need to use strength of numbers in order to do that.
Is he the guy they're all thinking about? Is he the guy they're all thinking, if we might ruin our race by gassing ourselves before we get there, but we kind of don't have a choice, because if this guy has some petrol in the tank, we'll see you next year, basically?
It's a great question, because some of the riders will be absolutely thrilled with a podium. Others are aiming for top 5. Others, they just want the win. So depending on what your strategy is, there will be some riders who are happy just to follow Josh Harris around. Ryan Thomas is the next to move. He was
Going
pushing
hard.
up over 10 watts per kg when he attacked. He's settling in a little bit now. Andrew Downey, he's been fantastic over the last years, really building his experience. These riders, they race every Sunday on the Sunday Race Club over on MyWhoosh. They know the platform very well. When MyWhoosh stepped in as the World Championship host on this platform, a lot of riders really made sure they took the time to learn the platform, understand how to race it. And you know what else? Every month through the Sunday Race Club, they give away as prize $300,000 every month for Sunday Race Club.
Wow. Do they have to pay
across-
tariffs? 86%. That's extraordinary. Those sort of incentives going on to get these guys onto the track, and you're seeing it here. But that much, I guess, time in the saddle. The pace in this first 5.5 minutes has been. It's been a clip. It's been a bit of a clip. They've just settled down a little bit now, but we were getting up 50, sort of mid 50s in that early part. Josh Harris really setting that pace. I'd love to just have a quick chat to him if we could. So how are your legs? How are you feeling now? Because having a look at that, we are coming up to that first prime sprint. That's 5.4 Ks. They're not too far away from that. I'm really curious to see how he goes about that after that early push.
Well, Josh Harris is a really interesting one as well, because, fun fact, he used to hold the world record for the beer mile. Do you know what that is?
The beer mile. I might have a different interpretation as the one you're talking about, so let's go with yours.
Run, drink a beer, run, drink a beer, run, drink a beer, run, drink a beer. It's like a biathlon, a running beer biathlon. And Josh Harris had the world record for that, right? So it's not just that he's an incredible athlete. He's got a bit of personality
I
too,
love
right?
this
He's got a
guy.
bit of spark. And we can see him there. Great shot of him in his basement. I'm assuming it's a basement. It could be a garage, Joel. It could be an easement.
His bike cave.
His
Cave.
well, could be a beer cave given his history.
He's a beer athlete.
He's definitely come in wanting to win this. And they're talking about Olympics for esports and cycling. And Josh Harris, he wants to go.
He wants
to be an Olympian. He's certainly capable. He was a very, very good runner, but the injuries set him back. Now they're coming into the intermediate sprint, and we'll see the results pop up on screen. But this is the first real test. Gina Ricciardo in the women was the one who really put it out there for those intermediate sprints. Andrew Downey and Trent Stevenson are out, but Andrew Downey will take that first intermediate sprint, and here's the attack over the top, and that's Nick Spratt.
Look at Spratty. So he has gone right on the back of that sprint. You definitely noticed it from Downey. He pushed himself on that and immediately, and Spratty, absolute carpe diem there.
Absolutely. He knows how to race. So he's one of Australia's biggest winners on the MyWhoosh platform, doing the Sunday Race Club every week.
Yep.
He knows how to race. This is not a case of, this is my first time riding the Wollongong course on MyWhoosh. He knows it inside out. So let's take a look at Sprint 1. Andrew Downey for the win. Finn Walsh, we're going to talk about him in a moment. Second, Nick Spratt in third. Trent Stevenson, Timothy Brook, Andrew Freeb. Nicholas Spratt has gone over the top. Now, Finn Walsh, really interesting. His older brother, Liam, has been performing absolutely amazingly over the summer on the road, but he's also part of the national team on the track. He's a very good teams pursuiter. They're both from the Balmoral Cycling Club. Now, at the track national championships last week, the Balmoral Club would have topped the medal tally ahead of any state. Right, so Balmoral, an absolute force. Maddie Taylor also from there, and Megan Moore. But Finn Walsh, I've spoken to his dad out at the Murray track before, and he said that Finn has got this real tenacity and determination. And the first time that he beat his older brother, it was a big moment. So
Victory.
It's fantastic to see him out there racing as well. Body language in the queue, they actually look pretty calm.
Yeah, they do. I have to say, there was a section sort of between the first two sprints in the women's final where we did see a little bit of odgy-bodgy, Kate, a little bit of push and shove in the middle. We're not seeing it as much this time, but I do feel that is going to materialise emphatically, either just before the next or right on the back. As we saw on the end of that first sprint, Nicky Spratt just pouncing as he did. I also did notice really quickly that the father and son duo, the son was briefly ahead of dad on just the live ladder. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all he needed. 2 or 3 seconds, he was beating dad.
Yeah, there's definitely a Molostic Cup going on tonight. Like, you can win a national championship, but you can also win the Molostic Cup. We need to consider that in-game, the drafting and the pack dynamics, just like it is out on the road, there can be up to about a 30% saving in wattage and in energy. And when their watts that's on display is green, like we can see now, I almost timed that perfectly, didn't I? Thank you, fellas. That means they're sitting in draft. So that means that they are letting somebody else take the lion's share of the work. It is not a good tactic to sit on the front the whole time and use your energy while everybody else sits in draft.
No one wants to be a wheel sucker. That is what you do not want to be, but you are seeing that, and this is what we spoke about, these flat sections, as we see Peter Milostic, the wily veteran, making it a little bit of a patch here. He's sort of just saying to everyone, hey, I'm just going to turn up the tempo a little bit here, and lo and behold, Josh Harris says, oh yeah, hold my beer.
Interesting move from Josh Harris, because he went down and just shut it down. Yeah. He said to Peter Milostic virtually, hey, calm down, I've got this. He accelerated up to him, and then he backed off. So he wasn't suggesting at all to Peter Milostic, hey, let's go in this together, let's do this together. But Peter Milostic, he is not backing down. He has gone again. Josh Harris, he's like the policeman in the group. He's just monitoring. Now, on the right of screen, front of the race, on the left of screen, that is the chasing group. So you can see that they're about 21 seconds down, 22 seconds down from that lead group.
And you can see Josh Harris, I think, really asserting a little bit of control, just trying to sort of control that front tempo. Whether that work with him and Peter Milostic is going to take a toll later, we shall see. But what we are seeing at the moment from him is a guy that said, look, I've been here, I've done this. You guys will go on my pace. At the moment, he's settled down a little bit. Milostic is having another go. I love this little battle within a battle happening here. All the while, we got Nikki Spratt still hanging around as well. It's extraordinary what we're seeing early. We've got, what have we got? We've got another sprint coming up, Kate, in about 4.5, 5 kilometres. I can't wait to see where Josh Harris is coming into that sprint because he's been forced to assert himself in the last couple of minutes.
It's at the 14 kilometre mark, and it is quite an important part in the race because, again, that climb starts at 17, the finish is at 20, the top of the climb at 19.7. So that's what we're looking at. Peter Milostic, Andrew Downey, Josh Harris, you can see the body language really controlled, really relaxed. They're all really experienced e-sport racers, and they know that they need to just make sure they're on the right wheel. They need to make sure that they're conserving their energy. And there are moments where you can take a drink, and there are moments that it would be terrible to take a drink. Around a sprint frame, terrible time.
Not the time to drink, yeah.
At the bottom of the final climb, terrible time. So if they do need some hydration, and you do dehydrate really far more significantly when you're doing indoor riding than outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the fan setup. It's a beautiful setup here at QUT. Look at that cube. Like the G on display is absolutely magnificent. Now, last year was the first time we ran an in real life championships, and the riders were actually facing the screen. So their game was on those beautiful screens. But some of the riders said that it was overwhelming, like so many sensory, and they weren't quite sure where to look.
Yeah.
Compared, because a lot of them are used to having an iPad that they're working off. And so even that is interesting. They are so in the zone that if you pull them outside that at all, it really discombobulates them.
It sure does. As we've had just through the first 10 kilometres, we are halfway through the race, more than halfway through at the moment, and we are seeing Peter Milostic, just him and Harris and Andrew Downey at the moment, Trent Stevenson, basically the whole field. There's very, very little between them. I'm really interested heading into this second sprint if we see a repeat of the pattern we did leading in to the first one as well, because that could really dictate what we're going to see in the back end. And if that's going to start to sort out our order a little bit more.
It sure will, Joel. So 14 kilometres is that next intermediate sprint. We're watching from Josh Harris's perspective. Lyndon Milostic now. It's the Milostic 1-2. What are the chances they've had a discussion about this? Fairly high, I would say.
Milostic, fantastic. Here they go. What a duo.
And cycling is a team sport, and the same can be said for esports. So if you are new to watching virtual racing, there really isn't a lot of difference between what we're seeing play out on screen as what we see play out on the roads. And look, it's a beautiful world, and it's very immersive to watch this racing. This is a great view from the back because you can see that it really is the calm before the storm. This is the moment that they really do need to watch their heart rate and make sure that they can draft as much as. And a great live shot from the cube. Just again, those shoulders bobbing around, starting to show the effort.
The effort's there, though. The form's strong, but look how you can throw a tissue over them at the moment. It is that tighter than two coats of paint kind of feeling leading into this, as that conservation you spoke of earlier really comes into it. And we're seeing a little bit of a push here. Andrew Freeby, he's looking to make, just to keep them honest, I think. Someone is going to get found out. We are going to see most of them probably get found out from these little skirmishes that have been happening throughout. I'm curious if it is the experience of someone like a Harris or a Milostic that's going to say, you know what, I'm going to let these guys do their dance and watch me at the end, or if they're just going hell for leather, war of attrition, who's standing at the end?
I mean, I think it would be very hard to crack Josh Harris over 20K. So if Josh doesn't prevail over the climb, it's simply that he doesn't have the climbing legs. But he's able to race pretty flat out. It's when riders like Nick Spratt really interest me because he does just have so much platform experience. But Mark Gates, Andrew Downey, these are the names that we've been seeing really rise in the esports world in the last couple of years, and they're determined. There's a lot on the line for them, and Josh Harris knows that everybody's looking at him. You know, he really does have a target on his back.
Which is why he is pushing out the watts at the moment. He is keeping them honest as we're about 1.5 kilometres away from the second sprint. This is the big one. This is the one that really separates, I guess, the action we're going to see as we get toward that climb. And that gradient on that climb, which viciously ambushes the riders, it comes out of nowhere and gets up around that 10% mark. There is so important to have some petrol in the tank. Josh Harris, I love the way he's pacing this race. He's pushing himself ahead when he needs to send a message, but he's sliding back beautifully into the pack. And once again, he knows he can do that with the bunch being the shape it is at the moment.
And it's a really good example of how, even though they can't see your body language, even though they can't see your face, you can still assert your dominance. And that's what Josh Harris did when Peter Milostic attacked. 13.5 kilometres into 20 kilometres. At the 14-kilometre mark, that's when we have the next intermediate sprint. That only leaves 3K before they're on at the slopes of Mount Pleasant in Wollongong. Peter Milostic moves again. He won the first sprint. He looks to be determined to have a clean sweep on the sprint stakes.
I love, there's a real cat and mouse happening with Milostic and Josh Harris at the moment. I feel like Milostic is not just testing the stamina endurance, but a little bit testing the pride of Josh Harris here. He really is making him work, making him push, and just hoping that he just pushes one spring too many heading into that final climb. I don't mind the tactic. Milostic, like you said before, it's absolutely all or nothing. But he's saying to Josh, mate, if you want to do this, if you want to be the alpha in this race, come and get it, baby. Come and get it.
Well, we've got Andrew Downey on screen. He looks pretty relaxed. He does.
Can I just mention his get-up,
you know,
please?
I know.
Please?
It's a helmet.
Is he wearing
You're a Star Wars fan, Joel. This is kind of your domain, what helmet that is. It looks like a Greek gladiator helmet to me.
He's put together a little bit of God of War, I'd say, with early original trilogy concept
We
drawings
like your
that,
kit,
didn't
Andrew.
get there.
Well done.
Yeah, very, very well done.
Keep it up.
Seeing a bit of a lift here, Kate.
Well, they're through that second intermediate sprint. It's now a matter of kilometres until they hit the slopes of the climb. Mark Gates went through. I thought Andrew Downey got it, but Mark Gates, then Andrew Downey, Linton, Ryan Thomas. Now, he can race, but he can't be national champion because he's not Australian. Trent Stevenson and Andrew Freeb.
I love that with Ryan. He's just there to mess with them, really. He's just there to be the cat thrown among the pigeons. We saw a little bit of a change-up in that sprint, though. It wasn't necessarily a repeat of the pattern we had seen. It is buying into this theory of Milostic versus Harris, though. I think they left the powder dry to an extent there because their battle, as we're seeing right now, is set to unfold over this last 5 kilometres.
Well, I got so excited when Peter Milostic just attacked that I yeeted my pen across the room. My pointer.
I saw that.
I have nothing to point at the screen now. Goodness me, Peter Milostic. He animates road races and has been for decades, literally, and now my poor pen has suffered as a result.
Kate, please? She needs something to throw her pen at. Look how hard he's working. Look at that. And I just love the challenge that they're facing here. You're on your own, in your garage, your fan, your wits, your awareness of the technology, obviously, but ultimately you are on your own. So feeling that, I guess the temperature for the race, it's a challenge beyond what a lot of them would be used to, especially coming
and
to the track.
that's our plumber Mark. Now he's wearing an aero jersey, so the Australian Esports Racing Organisation, one of the biggest and most formative groups in Australia in terms of esport that has really developed the community. A little bit of bike envy. Look at those beautiful bicycles, a time trial bike, and he's roadie, but he's on the bike racing the Esports National Championships, and he's starting to work really hard. Now, he was sitting in second because Andrew Downey has now taken off. It's about a kilometre,
Harris
Joel,
going
until
with
they
him.
start hitting the slopes. You're right. He's enforcing again.
He
That's
is.
what he's doing. Josh Harris, tucked in.
Really curious to see the legs of Harris, how far they can get him here. We saw our plumber in the garage there showing off his pipes, but now let's talk about the legs of Harris, because that is going to be a hugely decisive factor in the next 5Ks. This is the guy, it is more clear than ever now, this is the guy that they've all been thinking about leading up to it. Now it's his turn to think about them. Let's see where this goes.
Hey, how long have you been waiting to make the plumber and pipes joke?
Ever since I was sent the first run sheet for this race, Kate, and I was tossing up between he's going to try and tap into the bunch as much as he can, or have a look at those pipes. I thought I went with pipes in the end, but I can turn it off at any time. It's okay.
We can see our 6 riders inside the cube that are racing. We've got another 14 at home. 17 kilometre mark. This is where it starts to turn up. It gets up over 10%. This is the point in the women's race that we saw the attacks really start. And a couple of riders were able to claw their way back, but for the most part, when the attacks really started, that was it.
Well, 18 kilometres. Now, this is why it's so cruel, because we saw this with Imogen Alton in the women's race. The segment from 18, that's where it is super, super critical. But the run up to 19.7, which, mind you, is the better part of 2 kilometres later up the road, very much up the road. That segment there is where you get found out, basically. That's where we saw decisive attacks in the women's race. This is where we're going to see Harris versus the pack. This is where it will emerge. I'm absolutely convinced Downey has kind of taken the torch a little bit from Milostic as far as keeping Harris honest.
Yes, well, he's the first to move, and you can see from his body language that he's sitting up, no hands, right? So that's how good Andrew Downey is feeling, because he is just getting ready for what he knows will be a big explosion. Harris, we haven't seen him do anything except respond, right? He hasn't jumped across and continued the effort to get a breakaway. He's just jumped across to let them know he's there. Good luck, guys. You're doing well, but I'm still here. 18.1 kilometres in 20 kilometre race. 19.7 kilometres is where the KOM top is. And going under this beautiful MyWhoosh banner, they are now on the Wollongong climb in earnest.
Here it is.
We've had some false flat mutterings, but now this is the truly decisive part of the race. And Andrew Downey, he's on the move again.
He's
he
going
is the
hard.
first.
Now, this is the thing. Once again, you've got Downey setting this pace. Harris, Brooke, Nikki Spratt, Ryan Thomas in the back once again, but he is making them stay up. He's making them stay honest. It is still really, really early in this climb, but have a look at that gradient, 9.7, 9.8. It is going up very quickly. I'm interested to see if these moves, or if the conservation that we're now seeing down further from the likes of Gates, Thomas, Milostic, is going to prove decisive. But the pace overall, Kate, considering they're climbing 9.8%, they're moving. They're definitely moving.
It's good to watch their power numbers to understand the consistency. Are they struggling? Do you see it drop and then reignite as they get the energy to do it again? They can sniff the finish. Josh Harris and Nick Spratt are the 2 riders who are starting to really distance the pack. Timothy Brook is not too far back. Then Lyndon Milostic, Mark Gates. But it's Spratt and Harris, the 2 most experienced esports riders we have. Spratt knows the game better. He has been a stalwart of the Sunday Race Club on the MyWhoosh platform. But Josh Harris, he is the only Australian to make the final of the championships last year in Abu Dhabi. And he wants to be an Olympian. He's putting his hand up. He's saying, firstly, I want to go back to the World Championships, and this time I want a medal.
I'm going to come back with a medal. I'm going to come, and we're seeing it. It's this pattern. Nick Spratt makes a move. Josh Harris says, no. Come back here, young man.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're in Olympic City as we live and breathe and speak right now, Brisbane 2032. not too far away, Kate, right here in Brisbane. So they've got plenty to ride for. Lyndon Milostic now looking to take it to Harris. This is the test we've been looking for Josh Harris. We are 500 metres out, and they are saying, if you want this, you're going to have to work. You are going to have to earn it, Josh.
Bang across the top, Lyndon Milostic, but Josh Harris, he can reply. They are neck to neck, 19.7 kilometres, so another 150 metres to the KOM, and they are fighting neck and neck over the top. Neither of them is prepared to back down. And you can see Milostic slightly in the slipstream there of Josh Harris. Harris just nutting down. Look at the consistency of that power. But he cannot ditch Milostic. Milostic is here in the cube, and we can hear them going off, cheering for him. They're over the top together. This is
extraordinary.
A sprint finish.
I feel like Lyndon needs to get a message to his dad and say, I don't think I'll be mowing the lawn tomorrow, but it's going to be worth it. Just hit 7 watts heading into the final couple of 100 metres here. Josh Harris is really, really having to grind here, Kate.
And here's the top of the KOM. They will go over together. Lyndon Milostic and Josh Harris, neck and neck, over the top of the KOM together. Another 300 metres of racing.
Here we go.
I
got the goosies.
Josh Harris. Harris missed out on the title last year to his mate, Josh Wilson.
This is it, Kate.
And Harris has gone. He's distanced him. Milostic can't keep the wheel. He can't hang on.
He's done a Pogacar.
What does he think? He's in Flanders? My goodness me.
All of a sudden, it's a one-day classic, and he is just flexed at the very, very end. And here he goes, crossing the line, Josh Harris. I'd say, do we say retribution, vengeance, or just one better than last year?
And there he is, national champion Josh Harris. We knew that he was a big chance to win this, but what a ride. And Lyndon Milostic, the young man, not old enough last year to compete in the MyWhoosh World Championships. And look at what he has done. He has well and truly announced himself. The fight for 30's on. Mark Gates, our plumber, he's got his pipes out. He's going to take the bronze medal here.
He's trying to wrench it away from Andrew Downey, who is still working hard. Have a look at the watts. Downey's probably a little bit too far back now, obviously, but Gates crossing that line as well. And I think we saw really good pace. I think Lyndon especially, he denied himself that rush of blood between the sprints on both occasions, especially when he saw his dad out there really setting the tone. He kept that energy, and have a look what it did for him at the end.
Sensational. And then Nick Spratt is the next to come over. We're watching Andrew Freeb fight every single metre to the line. Because once you go over the KOM, it's not like a crazy downhill. They have a small turn down, but then it is a slog to the finish. And here's Peter Milostic, the warrior. He will be so proud of his son and what he's achieved tonight.
Oh, big time.
I think quite competitive because he's just lost the Milostic Cup. So, you know.
I also think he should go and give Josh Harris should go and give him a big hug, because I think the work that he made Josh Harris do in the middle of that race was the work that set up Harris for the result that we've seen.
Absolutely.
He had to stay in it.
So, wonderful. We're going to try and get Josh Harris on the line to have a chat to him. We had a chat to Tilly Field over in Majorca. She was teasing us with the sunshine, so we'll have a chat to her when we can. We've also got one of the amazing QUT reporters out. Oh, there he is.
Here he is, looking very fresh.
How you doing, champ? Retribution. You didn't take the gold last year, but now you can call yourself national champion.
Yeah, that was insanely tough. The Milostic guys, I knew that they'd be working together, and they've both got so many watts per kilo. It was just attack after attack, but I guess I've put myself in that position with my results the last 12 months that I knew it was on me to follow. So what happened last year didn't happen, and that was so hard. They kept throwing blow after blow. I just hung in there, and I knew if I could get to the last 200 metres that I could win it. But that race was nuts.
You were the hunter, Josh. That was really evident early on, even out ahead of that first sprint. They were making you go with them. Was there any doubt in your mind of having to work hard early? Did that upset your apple cart a little bit as far as how you were looking to ride this race?
I was fully prepared for that because for me to win that race, I just had to wait till the end. That time suits me fresh. Tired a bit less so, but so I knew that would happen. I knew Lyndon, and then with the help of his dad, obviously, and I knew someone like Andrew Downey would be a real threat because he's got some big raw watts, Downey, and he was actually pretty calm until that key moment. Like, he attacked twice, and those two nearly got me. Like, because he's so strong, they hurt a lot more than the previous ones. So I went into that hill pretty cooked. And then I didn't know if Spratt was setting them up as well, because I think he rides with those guys a bit, so I just felt targeted, but I'm stoked to get the win.
Yeah, it's the Penrith Mafia, Western Sydney power coming at you, Josh, to try and take you down. Now, we know that Nick Spratt is a really prolific racer in the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh. Tilly Field, who won the women's race earlier, said this was the first time she'd ridden the Wollongong course in MyWhoosh. Did you recon the course?
Yeah, I've done it a fair bit. That's just the kind of person that I am. I try and prepare really thoroughly for these events. And look, I've spent primarily my season on Zwift since the World's on MyWhoosh. So the last few weeks I've come back on Whoosh and noticed some really positive changes in the dynamics. The game's really good. What I felt tonight was really great but hard racing, and I think the numbers I pushed there, considering the style of racing, like, I reckon some big numbers. Yeah, that was hard.
Yep.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Josh. Fantastic. I would say pop a champagne, but given your history with the beer mile, maybe it'll be a beer instead.
Yeah. I haven't had beers for ages, so I think we'll be celebrating from tonight onwards.
Well, you deserve it, because they kept it on us throughout, but he showed why he was the one being chased. You go and upend a bottle of Goanna oil on your hamstrings, my friend, because I'm sure they're going to be absolutely screaming at you. Congratulations to Josh Harris, who has come back. Retribution, he did it. He did it.
I love that he says that's the kind of guy I am, you know, because he prepares so very well, and he knows exactly, like, it's not just about knowing the course. There's our overall standings. Josh Harris, of course, taking it out ahead of Lyndon Milostic. We'll have a chat to him in a moment. Mark Gates takes the bronze. Andrew Downey in fourth. Nick Spratt in fifth. I tell you what, this is absolute heaven for the Australian Esports team, this list. Then Timothy Brook in sixth, Ryan Thomas in seventh, Andrew Freeb in eighth. When Josh was talking about not just that he'd prepared on the course and he'd had a really good look at it, but he also took the time to really understand his competitors. He knew what the Milostics would do. He knew that Nick Spratt was really experienced and he would have to really consider the dynamic of that. And he mentioned that in-game, the experience is fantastic. So we will get an interview with Lyndon. So...
All right, Kobe is reporting for us tonight from QUT. She is there with Lyndon, who looks like he's caught his breath after working really hard. Kobe? Oh, wow.
Oh, he is such an emerging talent. He's so young. I mean, honestly, he looks like...
It's a completely different race. Indoors, when we're doing a race less than half an hour, it's just full gas, whereas gravel, you can have more tactics, and it's not just the power, it's also the skill as well.
Are you getting audio currently?
Kobe there doing the work on the sidelines here at the Cube. QUT, Brisbane's Gardens Point campus.
All right, can you tell me, is it harder to do inside esports, or what do you think? Is it harder doing outside in the gravel?
Oh, it's just completely different races indoors. When we're doing half an hour or shorter races, it's just full gas. Whereas out on the road, you've got your skills as well as your brains and smarts.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Lyndon. Well done. We're all cheering you on. Thank you so much for today.
Thanks for having me.
Good work, Kobe. I tell you what, he's 18, old soul. He's speaking like he's got a lot more experience behind him because he speaks like a bit of a seasoned campaigner there. I really hope Dad lets him have the weekend off his chores at home because he did an extraordinary job there. And one of the things, and I heard him speaking about it then, pacing those stages, avoiding the temptation, avoiding the rush of blood early. Obviously, the Penrith cartel, is that what you said? The Penrith cartel had the Penrith Mafia had their scheme afoot, but he's still a young man and he's still in a final. He's still in a national final. He's done really well to sort of rein that in because we all knew that last 500 metres was where it was going to hurt, and that's when he was doing his best work.
No, he rode tremendously. He's got really incredible power numbers, and people have been really watching him develop through the sport and really excited about his progression. I really think that Lyndon's an athlete that can go with Josh into the finals in Abu Dhabi with the MyWhoosh UCI World Championships. And I think that where they talked about working together, Josh Harris said, you knew the Milostics were going together.
Yeah.
If Milostic and Harris can work together, we could see the Aussies on the podium at the World Championships. So what a fantastic, fantastic way to finish the racing here.
I love that. I love how excited you are because you're always looking at the bigger picture for Australian cycling. And what we've seen tonight is that picture coming together beautifully because that's what this is. This platform setting these riders off in so many trajectories. And we've seen two great races again tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring it to you here from QUT Gardens Point in beautiful Brisbane. Thank you for bearing with us through a couple of bits of technical mumbo-jumbo and argy-bargy. What do you call it? Technical...
Yeah, mumbo-jumbo will do.
Vomit?
The team from MyWhoosh, the team from AusCycling, and, of course, the wonderful team here at QUT in the Cube. Thank you so much for joining us. We will definitely be back next year. The World Championships are on the MyWhoosh platform for the next couple of years as well. So follow along with that. Get yourself on the bike and into esports if you can. Don't forget the Sunday Race Club. Say hi to your mum for me.
Yeah, please, always. Big thanks to Samil, Kobe, Kira, all the team here who've been working really hard to put this event together for a number of months. Let's just say since the one last year ended. Really great shout out to the team here at QUT. My name's Joel Spreadbury, Kate Bates. You can catch the Wheelhouse Cycling podcast on all of your favourite subscribers. There's another cheeky plug. I wonder if I'll get away with that one. We shall find out. Thank you for your company. We'll do it all again.